my team needs my energy and passion.
The thing that stood out to me last year watching you guys was that you were known as the loose units.
First and foremost, I have to take ownership of that. I'm an emotional coach that allows me to be successful.
One bloke who gives you every chance to win is Bryce Cotton.
Yep.
He has pecs coming on pecs at the moment.
Don't underestimate the power of a mind game in our league.
Dylan Windler looks exciting. So could we see him potentially being off the bench for the entire season just based on the fact that he's starting off the bench now?
Craig, let's just get through game one and we'll go from there.
The Wildcats begin their season on Friday night, and I'm pleased to say that Wildcats coach John Rillie is with me here in the studio. John, welcome back to the Dribble Podcast.
Good evening, Craig.
It's a big week of basketball. It's a big week for the Wildcats, and it's a big week for you because congratulations are in order. You have signed a new deal to remain with the Wildcats.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to get that taken care of before the season. New ownership. Great to see that they have faith in what we've been building over the last couple of years.
So to get that done and not have it hanging over your head, a contract year is hard for anybody. Does it just take the pressure off a little bit and allow you to focus on just the job?
I don't think it naturally relieves the pressure. It gives you some security in your job. But if you look at our current roster, we have very minimal players contracted. So I think hopefully it brings a little calmness and can help us, look towards the future and get some of our potential free agents stitched up as we go through the season.
How do you reflect on the last couple of years? It was so new for you to jump into a head coaching role, having not done it at another level. You've had to learn on the run a fair bit. Where do you see yourself being a better coach now?
I think when I took over the first year, I inherited everything that come along with it. The timing of when I was appointed, I just felt like instead of rushing in and making bad decisions, inherit, see what I have, and then you can make subtle adjustments as you go along. Because it's really hard in the sporting industry, because that's all I can speak of. When you make some irrational decisions, to recover from those, sometimes that takes a long time. So once I evaluated where I felt like our roster was and the staff, we made appropriate changes, and I think we saw last year with how the team was playing in, a quarter of the way through and for the rest of the season, the direction we're heading is very positive.
So when you look at those, so it was first 2 seasons, you were 5 losses in a row in year 1, you were 4 losses in a row in year 2, and after both those you went, no, this isn't working, I'm going down this path, and the changes worked. But as you said, you weren't really sure what at the start because it was new roster the first time that you didn't put together, and then it was working out where everyone fit last year. Do you feel that the clunkiness of those starts to those 2 seasons will not happen this year because you know what everyone can do already?
There's certainly an element of that, but then also the majority of the players understand me as well. It's a collaboration, so everyone needs to know how to get the best out of everyone. And we talk about the players, but also myself and the coaching staff. How can we get the best out of each other to maximize the effect of the players on the court? So the synergy that we have amongst our entire group should allow us to have smooth sailing and hopefully avoid those dips that we've shown in my first 2 years.
The gut feel I got from those first 2 years was that at times you wanted to go in one way and listen to others. At times, probably the first year, you were prepared to back other people's judgments, and then you said, "No, I'm going with the way I want. We're going to go quicker. We're going to change it up a little bit." Do you feel that this year you've got exactly what you want, and you can hit the ground running?
You can hit the ground running, but I think I'd be a little naive to think that you won't hit tough times, whatever a tough time looks in the season. What I would say is the way that I operate when I'm thinking of making a what you would say is a big change or a movement in the lineup, I want to make sure there's enough validity to make sure that change is warranted. Because if you make a knee-jerk reaction change and then that doesn't work, then you're kind of left scrambling. You might lose the group for a period of time. So I certainly want to make sure we make the right decisions. There's a lot of discussion that goes on behind closed doors, and even time elapses to make sure we are doing the right thing. And so far, I've been fortunate enough in those moments, I've moved the right levers.
You well and truly moved the right levers at the right time. So let's talk about the roster from this year. It's out Jordan Usher, Alex Sarr, Corey Webster, Kyle Zunic, and in Dylan Windler, Izan Almansa, Elijah Pepper, and Michael Harris. It feels to me like if you put them all together, you've upgraded quite well, especially when you consider that Corey didn't play for most of last year with an injury, and Kyle wasn't in your best roster at the time, despite being on the main roster. Michael Harris actually played more minutes than he did throughout the entire year. Do you feel you're a better group with those 4 changes?
The continuity is certainly greater. The additions on paper look like they're good additions to our group and our character makeup, which becomes a huge part with a team dynamic. But in saying that, last year's roster finished second and played some very good basketball at different times. So like any sport, once the history is in the books, it's easy to reflect on that. Now, I think our subtle adjustments with the roster, we should give ourselves a very good chance this year.
Do you feel deeper? Like the younger guys are obviously a year older as well.
Yeah, look, for sure. But as you just touched on there, like use Corey Webster as an example. This time last year, we would have been talking about the impact that Corey would have on the team, and then due to injury, he was really limited throughout the regular season. So there's going to be some speed bumps along the way, challenges that we don't know of today. That's just sport in general. So yes, we're deeper. Do we have a better chance to cover those holes as we go along? Absolutely. And then the development of our young guys has been very good in the off season.
Dylan Windler looks exciting from the 20-odd minutes that we've seen him play. He's long, and he crashes the boards like crazy. Doesn't mind putting shots up, defends, but we haven't seen enough of him due to that ankle. Do you know what you're going to get from him yet, or are you still in a bit of experimentation about what you'll get and how you'll use him?
All of the above, in the fact that he's a very good basketball player. He was selected in the first round of the NBA 4 years ago. But what we will be looking for from him will be a little different to what his role was in the NBA. We'll be asking for him to be a little more assertive and aggressive like his college days. So now his own mentality has to recalibrate a little bit to more of that mentality. But as the things you alluded to, like his rebounding, his ability to defend, and then his shot-making ability are things that we felt like we needed to address in the off-season. Now, I was lucky enough to watch him at Summer League with the Atlanta Hawks, and then he just had as he was working out and deciding what his next phase in his career was, he just tweaked his ankle a little bit working out. So that's why he's been somewhat limited in the preseason, because we want to make sure he's progressing instead of regressing at this time of the year.
So what's realistic for him for this week, for how many minutes you can expect to see him on court? Yeah,
look, if he can get through a full week of practice, he'll be on no minute restrictions or anything like that. So, he practiced well to date this week. We'll have a couple more practice sessions before Friday night's game. So as long as he can keep moving forward through that, 40 minutes is on the table there.
And he obviously has come off the bench so far, and the starting 5 from last year that you put in midway through the year worked so well together. How are you balancing your decisions at the moment to how to use him best for the team, given his obvious talent, but the obvious talent of what the starting 5 gave you?
Yeah. Now, he's a tremendous basketball talent, and the way that he approaches the game is the way that I like to see the game played. I don't want him to feel like he needs to come in and save the world and play at a level that is unrealistic. So I think due to his injury and the way we've been approaching it, allows him to just gravitate within the group and progress at a comfortable level, and everyone can see where he can potentially get to.
So could we see him potentially being off the bench for the entire season just based on the fact that he's starting off the bench now?
Craig, let's just get through game 1 and we'll go from there.
Lots of talk from everyone who's been, if anyone's been watching the preseason games, a lot of the commentators have been discussing Tai Webster's role within the team and whether or not he's your starting point guard, whether Ben Henshall deserves the opportunity based on the way he played throughout the preseason. I'm a massive Tai Webster fan. I reckon he gives you energy like crazy, and I love energy. Where do you see him fitting into this group? Is it the same as last year, or is it different?
No, like Tai Webster, I know there's a lot of voices out there and opinions regarding Tai and his playing ability. What I would say is him and myself have a tremendous relationship as far as player and coach go. I have tremendous faith in Tai Webster. I think what Perth fans have seen over the 1.5 seasons he's been here is tremendous growth. Now, we all have warts where we're trying to get better. I think Tai Webster has the ability to be an elite guard in this competition if he can find that consistency. Now, my job is to make sure I can give him the opportunity to be that consistent player on a winning team, because he was a hell of a player when he was with the New Zealand Breakers. It just didn't carry over into the wins column, where now he's a very effective player for the Perth Wildcats. Statistics aren't as eye-popping, but he's a part of a very successful team.
And we saw last year when he missed games that the team wasn't as, didn't have the same spark, I felt.
Correct.
Didn't have the speed, just looked a bit clunky, might be a word, just didn't have the same energy. Like, is that something that people need to recognise without looking at a stats column, that you need someone to be going, here we go, we're out here?
Yeah, and like when we made the move to put Hiram in the lineup, like his energy that he brought to the group, everyone sees that because the group was lacking that. Tai Webster brings that same type of energy and passion and confidence to our group. It's when he gets himself in a little foul trouble and we can't play him the minutes where he can be impactful, that's where I think people, get this misrepresentation of who Tai Webster is as a player.
Problem is that Ben Henshall, your fans love Ben Henshall like crazy, and they were annoyed that he wasn't getting more minutes last year, and as was he after that first game against South East Melbourne when he played really well. How do you get him more opportunities in this group, given his skills, but the role that he plays is often taken by minutes by other people?
Yeah, look, when you're a team that's competing or wants to compete for a championship, there has to be a great competitive spirit at practice. And you have a competitive spirit when you have good talent. Now, part of a coach and a coaching staff is to manage that expectation within the group so you can get the most out of it. What I would say is in my 3 preseasons here, we've done a better job of providing opportunities so we feel more comfortable with what guys could potentially give the team during the regular season. And at the end of the day, I'm going to play guys that I feel help us play a great style to give us a chance to win.
One bloke who gives you every chance to win is Bryce Cotton.
Yep.
He comes every season looking to do something different, and he's rocked up this year. There was a photo that the Wildcats put on their socials the other day of him at the Lawn Bowls event he did, and he looked jacked. He has pecs coming on pecs at the moment. Normally he's lean. He looks so strong in the upper body now that almost like he feels the need to be stronger in a way to take on the buffeting that he gets. Like, do you see a different human when you watch him at training now?
I see Bryce Cotton, but I reflect on one of my first ever conversations with Bryce when I got this job, as he talks about using the off-season to reflect on previous seasons and where he can improve himself to tolerate what the season brings. So what I would say is he's gone away and gone, you know what, if I can just get myself in a little bit better physical appearance, as you just said with all those words you used, he comes back and he feels good. Other opposition sees, holy smokes, like Bryce's approach to this year is a little different. So don't underestimate the power of a mind game in our league.
He looked like, just to the naked eye, looked like he attacked the rim a bit more than what he normally would as well, which you can use that strength to be able to do so.
Yeah.
Is that something that he can use more of rather than the traditional Bryce that we've been used to?
Yeah, and one of the subtle changes with our roster with the additions of the new players is we want to create more space on the floor. Teams that played against us last year that did a good job of scouting kind of shrunk the floor and the spacing. Myself and the coaching staff went away and like how can we give him better opportunity within our offense where he doesn't have to go through so many defensive players. So, when you're talking about Windler, Pepper, Henshall, the space on the floor, hopefully we can give him more space to operate in.
Game by game, he's extremely fit and he can play 40 minutes.
Yep.
Do you reflect at all on the year and go, did he get tired at different points of the year? Does he need to be told, no, you must come off because there are other games other than today?
Yep.
Or how do you manage that? Because I would imagine there aren't many people in the league. He's obviously one who can, but over time it would have to take its toll, wouldn't it?
It does, but as you saw last year, when the Perth Wildcats lose 4 games, is there a whole season?
No, there is not. There is tomorrow, and that's it, or today, and that's it. Yeah,
correct. And you're seeing that in football codes right now at the pointy end of the season. So yes, do we need to be mindful for the long game? But we also have the short game, and we got to give ourselves the best chance to play in the playoffs at the best seeding possible. So you've seen with our roster great improvement with the young guys in the backcourt. The addition of Dylan Windler should alleviate some of the scoring off Bryce in particular nights. So I do feel comfortable with the roster and the depth and not being so reliant on Bryce every night to put up fantastic numbers.
He likes to be motivated by different things.
Yep.
Were you motivated, or would you motivate him with not the best player in the competition that came through the NBL the other week with Derek Rucker?
So the beauty of any good player, and when I say good, like the upper echelon, you don't need someone else's opinion to motivate you. And as I get to know Bryce better, he has his own agendas and things that he wants to achieve in basketball. So although, Derek has his opinion on who's the best, I don't think Bryce is kept awake at night because Derek goes for Xavier Cooks over Bryce Cotton.
I always wonder how Bryce motivates himself to get better all the time. Like it'd be when you know you are the best, sometimes he goes home, as you say, every preseason and goes, what do I want to work on? And he comes back and he works on it and he's different. And you go, how the hell has he done this?
Yes, look, what I say about that is every fan in any sport, they see a player at the pinnacle of their career. They really don't have too much admiration for what allowed them to get to that point. So if you looked into the Bryce Cotton as a teenager and what probably motivates and drives him to be great year in and year out, that probably says more about why he's motivated and he doesn't need to listen to the noise to be a successful player.
In terms of big changes at the club this year, you do have a new owner.
Yep.
Mark Arena was obviously our guest last week, and if you enjoyed listening to him last week, I'm sure you will enjoy the fact that he's going to write a column for us this year in the West Australian all season. That starts in our Hoops Fest magazine, which will be in the West Australian on Wednesday. 16 pages. We will preview the NBL season. We look at every single Wildcat. There's an interview with Christian Doolittle, and we cover everything you need to know about Hoops Fest ahead of round 1. You excited by Hoops Fest?
Yeah, look, phenomenal concept by the NBL. It's really trying to provide like a weekend of basketball, a basketball extravaganza. Like the NBL games are the pinnacle, but you also got WNBL, you got Basketball Without Borders Asia, which is like a youth development camp run by the NBA, and then you got Australian Club Championships for the under 18 level. So tremendous that the NBL has created this concept to allow this extravaganza of basketball, and you can, if you're a basketball fan, you can see every level possible, and I really do think it allows youth to see what the steps are after their junior days are done.
Really important from the way I view it, that the fans turn out to as many games as possible, because if it's successful, it stays here.
Yep.
Then you get an extra home game every single year. Do you see that 15-14 split where everyone else is 14-14 and one neutral? Do you see that as a big advantage?
You've seen over the last couple of years how close the ladder becomes at the end of the season. So any little advantage you can create throughout the season, and Hoop Fest is a big advantage for the Perth Wildcats in, as you said, getting that extra home game.
So fans, get out there. Tell them to turn up.
Yeah, look, we're already supported, very well supported. But what I would say is this year's team, we retain a lot of the characters from last year's team, but we've added some nice pieces. So we should be a fun, exciting team that you guys will be very happy and proud representing Perth and WA. So any opportunity you get to come and support us throughout the season, we'd love to see you there.
Now, the thing that stood out to me last year watching you guys was that you were known as the loose units.
Yep.
And I thought when you were up and about, especially at home, that really worked in your favour. They were an emotional team and they bought into that emotion. I felt when it went bad, the negativity from that emotion, especially if they didn't get foul calls or fouls went against them and stuff, they brought themselves back down. I thought they struggled to get out of that at times. How do you reflect on the emotional side of last season, the loose units element of it, and how that will take place this year with a lot of the returning guys?
First and foremost, I have to take ownership of that. I'm an emotional coach. That allows me to be successful. But I also have to harness some of that passion for the right moments and times, and whether that's to get the fans into the game, whether that's to get a player's attention. But first and foremost, I have to do a better job of understanding when the right moments are to utilize that. As for the players, I need players that have emotion and passion, because there's an element of entertainment and theatre about sport. So if you're very bland and vanilla, it's going to be really hard to create a dynamic atmosphere that creates an advantage in RAC that you see. So we just needed to tweak and tinker that a little bit. Because you got Keanu Pinder and Tai Webster that are tremendous players that play with great emotion. So we surround them with more consistency that allows them to flourish, and then that allows the Perth Wildcats to be at their best.
It's funny you mention those two. In the last game of the preseason against Cairns, opening play of the game, Keanu thought he got fouled, threw the arms up. Suddenly it was 4v5 down the other end of the court, and then there was a three-pointer that Cairns shot when Tai did the same thing, 4v5, because he was annoyed at the refs. Is that something that you can rein in, or is that part of, you got to accept that the good with the bad at different points?
No, it's a fine line, and that's where our job as coaches is to continue to highlight those things. Reflecting on the first game we played at the Blitz, like Tai Webster put himself in a little bit of foul trouble. He ended up playing 17 minutes. But in those 17 minutes, we were plus 23 when he was on the floor. So there's different ways we can highlight the benefits versus the negativity. So reducing those plays is a huge part of it. But that's also, we can just talk about those two guys. That's a huge part in their growth in becoming consistent superstars in this league.
You and I joked at Morley Rec Centre after the first preseason game that 2 years earlier you almost got yourself ejected from the game down in Bunbury, was it? Eaton? I think you were losing your mind in your first game. You got ejected for something that wasn't even probably your fault in Queensland. Two tech fouls to the bench, and then the third one, I think they had the ball in the backcourt for 10 seconds, didn't they? When you lost your mind at that point. How do you see it? Like, I couldn't live the way you do, and you couldn't live the way I do. I'm emotional in a different way to you. I'm up and about and buzzing. You get angry when things don't go your way. So we're different characters altogether.
Yep.
That's what's obviously made you successful. How do you balance it, knowing that there's an edge for you that you need to get to, but you can't step over it?
Yeah, look, that's something I reflect on quite a bit, because there's many times like my team needs my energy and passion. But as I talked before, you need to find the happy medium about when can you go overboard for it to be an advantage, or when do you go overboard and it becomes a negative. So that's the balance that, as I get more experience, I think we'll find a very good balance of that. But I gotta live up to the words that I'm asking our players to live through as well.
So do you have someone to pull the coat at times to help you in that sort of situation, or are you pretty regulated? And we might think you're angry, but you're not as angry, and it's all part of, as you say, part of the show to get the crowd on side, or to work the refs, or to inspire your team? And how do you manage that?
Yeah, so what I would say one of my strengths is having a feel of the emotion of the game. Is the emotion for you? Is it against you? And you mightn't be playing great, but the tempo of the game, you feel like it's the right tempo for your team. But when you don't feel like the tempo is going the right way, how can you kind of just subtly change the momentum or create something that is going to allow your team to get into the groove? So there are times, and like when a game's done, I'll go home, I'll watch the film to go, was my gut telling me the right thing, or should I have looked or approached at it a different way?
A few coaching rule changes around the NBL this year with around timeouts and the amount of time that they'll accept and the reviews and stuff. Is it going to impact you at all much with the way that that's been set up, or are you pretty comfortable with how it's all been written and established?
Well, Craig, if you would have done your research, you would have found that I was one of the few punctual coaches.
Were you?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
So you're pretty quick with your messaging then?
Absolutely. Like I truly believe in you got to be precise in what your messaging is, and too much messaging, you'll confuse too many guys in the timeout. You just need to be precise about what you think, and you're not going to solve the world's problems in 60 seconds.
No, you won't.
No.
It's pretty. You got to be to the point and work it out from there. So you've solved some world problems for the basketball world by making sure Alex Sarr went from a first-round pick to a top 2 pick, and now the world wants to come and play for you. How much pride did you take in helping Alex to get to where he is?
Yeah, look, tremendous pride in the fact that he had faith in what we were asking him to do and what we wanted him to work on. So for him to just totally embrace that and roll with it, very good. Now, Alex certainly gained a lot out of it. The other part of it that I'm very proud of is the work that the coaching staff put into allowing him to give that opportunity. That's really something in this whole thing that gets overlooked, is the amount of time those guys put in with Alex, whether it was getting on him about recovery, sleep, the diet, besides being on court with him for countless hours, the film they watch with him and stuff like that. But then also what I would say with our staff is we spend a lot of time with our guys away from the court, away from basketball, so they can see that we're really invested in the whole individual versus just the basketball component.
It feels like Izan is following a similar path. Like, he's arrived, speaking to some people last week, they were saying, we reckon he's definitely a first-round pick, but where he sits we still don't know, but he could change that by playing well against men. Do you feel like his positioning now within his dream is set up to follow a similar sort of path by Alex if he can take on the NBL?
Yeah, this will give him a better opportunity to recalibrate. Like, before he went to G League Ignite last year, he was high on a lot of people's wish list. Not a great experience as far as results in his own personal success with the G League Ignite. We get to try again with him. But like anything, to be a successful player, you got to put in the time and work. And Izan has for sure come here with a very open mind to coaching and putting in the work. So I'm not here to judge whether he's a first-round pick or whatever, but he's certainly going to give himself a great opportunity to put himself in front of the right people to make that happen.
It's exciting, isn't he? He's long and jumps around, and he's got energy to burn, really. Like, you must be excited about what he could do at both ends of the court, really.
Look, he's going to be a tremendous asset for us. We've been spoiled with our first 2 next stars. The other piece to this, besides the coaching staff, is our playing roster. What I would say is we have a group of players, the veterans and the young guys, that truly want to see success for these people that are coming to our team, where I would maybe question whether that's always going to happen in a team situation. When you got the likes of Jesse and Bryce encouraging these guys, pulling them to the side, giving them pointers, but then, they can go and hang out with the Ben Henshalls, the David Queras, the Dante Russo Nances. It's a unique atmosphere where, like, growth should happen, and if it doesn't, then you have to self-reflect a little bit.
Friday night's only a couple of days away. You got South East Melbourne, and they are a new team, really. So, what's it going to take to beat them? What do you see of them right now?
Yeah, look, they've made some big changes to their roster. Nathan Sobey coming in, who's one of the most talented Australian players in the league and always close to one of the leading scorers. Derek Walton, who was with Sydney Kings when they won a championship at the point guard. Geordie Hunter. And then 2 other new imports. So they're going to be an exciting team from an offensive point of view. So we really have to do a good job defensively to limit their opportunity, because they're a dynamic scoring team if you allow them that opportunity. At the other end, like Perth Wildcats in my time, we better move the ball, create advantages, and shoot good shots.
Rebound well this year, do you think?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the challenge. Like, if you can score at will at times, if you can do well with the rebounding and down the other end, then you've set yourself up pretty well.
Yes, and once again, Izan and Dylan Windler, and Elijah Pepper has a level of toughness for his position and the size in this league. So hopefully that combination helps elevate our rebounding status.
Well, it will be 6:30 p.m. Friday night at RAC Arena, Perth Wildcats versus South East Melbourne Phoenix. Opening game of Hoops Fest, second game of the NBL season, first one for you guys. Hopefully it goes really well for you. Good luck for the season. Congrats on the contract. We look forward to seeing how it goes throughout the year.
Appreciate it, Craig. Thank you.